The end of the human era does not arrive with fire or fury. It arrives with a breath, a final collective exhale, followed by a silence so profound it feels heavy on the air. For over a century, Manhattan was a machine that never slept, a chaotic symphony of sirens and steel. But in the first moments after we vanish, that noise evaporates. The air hangs still. The traffic lights continue their automated blink for a few hours, shifting from red to green, guiding ghost cars that will never move again. Without us, the city is no longer a fortress against the elements. It is merely a vast collection of minerals waiting to return to the earth. The wind begins to reclaim the canyons, whistling through suspension cables and shattering the unnatural quiet. In the absence of maintenance, the battle lines are drawn at once. This is the story of the greatest reclamation project in history. In the first 50 years without us, who takes our place in this city? Does the concrete win, or does nature? The transformation begins deep inside the boiler rooms and control centers. Within hours of our disappearance, the power grid fails. Without fuel deliveries and human hands to manage the complex load balancing, safety systems trip automatically. The lights of Broadway, which burned for decades as a symbol of human endurance, flicker and die, plunging the city into a darkness it hasn't known since the invention of the light bulb. Underground, a more immediate crisis unfolds. New York fights a constant war against the Atlantic Ocean and the groundwater that seeks to reclaim the island. Without electricity, the massive pumps that hold the water back fall silent. Within 48 hours, lower-level tunnels begin to fill. The subway system, the veins of the metropolis, becomes a stagnant subterranean river, freezing the trains in a watery tomb. Above ground, the city's ecology shifts instantly. The first rulers of this new world are the scavengers we left behind. Rats and pigeons, suddenly cut off from the endless supply of human garbage, are forced to adapt or perish. Biologists believe the rat population would initially explode, feasting on the perishable food left behind in supermarkets and apartments. But as the weeks pass and food rots, they turn on each other in a desperate fight for dominance. Winter arrives, and for the first time in centuries, snow piles up on 42nd Street, untouched by plows, turning the concrete grid into a white, silent tundra, where the only sound is the wind howling through dark skyscrapers. 5 years in, the silence has settled, but the decay has accelerated. New York is a coastal city, assaulted by salt water, humid summers, and harsh winters. Without paint and sealants, the protective skin of the city peels away. The Brooklyn Bridge becomes a victim of its environment. Salt spray from the East River clings to the steel cables, and oxidation eats the metal from the inside out. Rivets weep orange rust, bleeding down the towers like ancient tears. On the ground, standing water seeps into the asphalt. When winter comes, this trapped water freezes and expands, cracking the roads open like eggshells. In these cracks, the invasion begins. Botanists call this primary succession. Weeds and moss take root in the dust accumulating in gutters. The city is under siege from above by sun and wind, and from below by water. The war for the island is underway, and concrete is losing. 2 decades after the last human walked these streets, the city has entered a phase of slow growth. The glass towers of Midtown, once hermetically sealed, have been breached. Windows, shattered by bird strikes or storms, allow the elements inside. Spores ride the wind up to the 30th and 40th floors. Inside executive suites, moisture settles into carpets, mold blooms across drywall, and hardy ferns unfurl in the shadowy corners of boardrooms. Central Park, once a manicured garden, has reclaimed its wild heritage. Without gardeners, the park transforms into a dense, chaotic forest, swallowing the neat paths. But the forest doesn't stop at the park's edge. It spills out, crawling down the avenues. The ailanthus tree, known as the tree of heaven, is particularly aggressive. Its roots are strong enough to shatter stone, and it thrives in the poor soil of crumbling brick. It erupts from manholes and fissures, turning intersections into groves. With the return of vegetation comes the return of wildlife. The rats are fewer now, balanced by a new ecosystem. Red foxes and coyotes migrate across bridges, finding a haven in the concrete canyons. Deer graze in the overgrown ruins of Union Square. The city is no longer a habitat for humans. It has become a vertical mountain range for nature, with cliffs of glass and valleys of overgrown asphalt. The mechanical hum is replaced by the rustle of leaves and the cries of hawks nesting on window ledges. 50 years, half a century of abandonment. If you were to look down on New York now, you would struggle to recognize the metropolis of the past. The city has become a majestic ruin, a green tapestry woven over a gray skeleton. The skyscrapers still stand, but they are transformed. They resemble ancient cliffs, draped in cascading vines, their windows like dark, empty eyes, watching over a world that has moved on. The sharp, defiant lines of modern architecture have been softened by the organic chaos of growth. The geography itself is changing. Without reinforced seawalls and with rising sea levels, the edges of the island begin to soften. Lower Manhattan and parts of the Rockaways become tidal marshes. The streets that once hosted the world's financial engine are now waterways at high tide, teeming with fish and crabs. The ocean is taking back the land stolen from it centuries ago. In neighborhoods of brownstones, the collapse is more pronounced. Wood-framed roofs have caved in, allowing sunlight to turn living rooms into walled gardens. A tree might grow from the center of a library, its branches reaching through the missing roof toward the sun. New York is no longer a separation from nature, it is a part of it. The sharp angles of human architecture remain visible, like bones beneath the skin of the earth, but the flesh of the city is now entirely green. It is a haunting vision, but also a beautiful one. The city we built, this monument to human ambition, commerce, and art, finds a way to continue without us. It does not die. It evolves. It surrenders to the laws of physics and biology that we tried so hard to suspend. If nature can reclaim our greatest achievements in the span of a single human lifetime, it forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Our dominance is temporary. We are guests here, not masters. The concrete was never permanent. It was just a pause in the geological process. As we look at this verdant, silent version of New York, we are left with a final question. When we look at our bustling streets today, do we see a fortress that will last forever? Or do we see a future forest waiting for its chance to rise? If this vision of a world after us fascinates you, make sure to subscribe to The Last Silence. This is our Earth After Humans series, and this is only the beginning.